and evening, and welcome to another segment of CLG Viewpoint. And it's an honor and a pleasure to have you here today, my friends. Today's Sunday, and it's actually Sunday evening, April 27th, 2025. I am Cindy Lorraine Grace of CLG Viewpoint. In the Kingdom of Canada, under natural law, it is Divina Vita, Divine Life, 27 year 0035. Today we will be covering McDonald's Big Mac Experiment. International news. President Ruto signs $950 million in China. China deal which strengthens Kenya and China ties. Local news. Man charged after pedestrian struck and killed in targeted attack on Haida Gwaii. New Brunswick landlord drops security deposit claim after false photo accusation. And BC pilot tells remarkable survival story after small plane crash off Mexico. Well, each segment I like to start with a sage clearing. I have a sage stick, and I light this up to clear any negative entities that is in my space and your space, if you so choose. To all low entity energies, you are healed and sent back to your perfect place, escorted by my spiritual guides, and so it is. I am divine love, and I am divine gratitude. Now, today, on to the video. We have the Big Mac Experiment.
7 months old. Y'all have been asking about it. Drum roll, please. And there she is, looking as beautiful as ever. And look at the cheese on that. That's pretty remarkable. No mold on the bun. Yeah, the meat has a little bit of mold. You can see it on the edge. But that shows you how many chemicals are in this thing that it still looks that good. Where's the mold on the bun? Loaded with preservatives. You can't eat this stuff, man. If it's not decaying in here, you're not digesting it either.
Yes, definitely, I will not be eating Big Macs, for sure. Now, on to international news. And here we have President Ruto signs $950 million deal in China. Strengthens Kenya-China ties. Story by Redaction African News, April 24, 2025. Kenyan President William Ruto has signed a $1 billion agreement with China as part of a 5-day state visit aimed at deepening the strategic partnerships between Nairobi and Beijing. The deal announced Wednesday focuses on accelerating key development projects under Kenya's bottom-up economic transformation agenda, BETA, including major investments in manufacturing, agriculture, and tourism. Ruto emphasizes the long-standing cooperation between the two nations, highlighting the transformative impact of Chinese-funded infrastructure such as the Standard Gauge Railway, the Lamu Port, and Nairobi Expressway. We have achieved many things together, said Ruto during a speech in Beijing. Kenya is a member of the Belt and Road Initiative, and the results are visible. From the Mombasa-Nairobi-Naivasha Railway to the Mombasa Oil Terminal and numerous road projects. These are not only reshaping Kenya, but enhancing regional connectivity across East Africa. The newly signed agreements channel over $950 million into priority sectors, $320 million for manufacturing, $430 million for agriculture, and $230 million for tourism. Key deals include a $150 million investment with China Ruyi for construction, $400 million in agricultural projects led by Zonkin Group in Baringo, and a $230 million tourism initiative by Hunan Conference Exhibition Group, a first-time investor in Kenya. President Ruto's visit, his third to China since taking office, comes at a time of shifting global alliances and reflects Kenya's commitment to strengthening ties with China amid global economic realignments. This visit speaks to the enduring friendship between our two countries and our shared vision for a prosperous future, Ruto added. And now on to the video.
President William Ruto signed a $1 billion deal with China on Wednesday, as he also emphasized on correlation with Beijing during his visit to the Asian country. Ruto is on a 5-day state visit to China as the East African country seeks to strengthen also its bilateral ties with Beijing.
I am looking forward to building on what already exists, to build greater understanding between our two peoples, and ensuring that we take this into the future. Along that journey, we have achieved many things together. Kenya is a member of the Belt and Road Initiative, and as a result, we have the 600-kilometer railway from Mombasa through Nairobi to Naivasha. We have the Lamu port that has been built in partnership with Kenya and China. And of course, we have the Mombasa oil terminal that was also being built by the partnership between our two countries, alongside many other projects, the Nairobi Expressway, and many road projects that have been undertaken in Kenya, signify the robust relationship between our two countries.
Kenya secured over $950 million to fund key projects under its bottom-up economic transformative agenda, with $320 million allocated to manufacturing, $430 million to agriculture, and $230 million to tourism. In manufacturing, major investments include $150 million to China's Huyi and $100 million to Rongtai Steel. Kenya also seeks to expand its major highways and also the standard gauge railways.
My personal thoughts. China and Kenya building a partnership and strengthening ties that will bring a prosperous future for them both. Now on to local news. Man charged after pedestrian struck and killed in targeting attack on Haida Gwaii. Global news written by Simon Little. Updated April 26, 2025. A 32-year-old man has been charged with second-degree murder in the alleged targeted use of a vehicle to kill a Haida Gwaii pedestrian. Daijing Gids RCMP said the victim was struck shortly after 1 p.m. on April 22nd in the 200 block of Front Street in Skidegate and later died of his injuries. From the outset of this collision, this was investigated as a targeted attack, and at no time did the Daijing Gids RCMP feel there was a risk to the greater community or its members. Daijing Gids RCMP Detachment Commander Sergeant Chris Manso said family have identified the victim as Luke Pearson, a Skidegate resident and member of the Haida Zeus Eagle clan. Late on Friday, RCMP said prosecutors had approved the murder charge against Tyson Young. We believe that there was a long-standing issue between the suspect and the victim, and we're trying to determine the cause of that and if this could have been prevented, Mansu told Global News. What came to this boiling point here now was a result of something that happened last summer, and it wasn't nice, added Chief Roy Jones Jr. The community has been placed under a 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew. Luke was a proud uncle, loyal friend, a devoted and caring son, brother, and cousin, and loving partner, Pearson's family said in a statement. He proudly and humbly lived a peaceful and honest life. He worked hard for this life and had a very bright future he was excited for. His life was stolen by evil people in a senseless act with no reason, and our hearts are forever broken. The Council of the Haida Nation also issued a statement on Pearson's death. At this time, please focus on supporting the family and one another while remembering all of the goodness of Luke, the council said. To all who knew Luke, he was a kind, generous, caring, and innocent Haida man. The council added it was in full support of the RCMP investigation and receiving regular updates. The RCMP also pushed back against social media posts questioning the investigation's timeline. Mansu said officers have been working round the clock on the case to collect evidence and speak with witnesses. While an arrest is certainly a milestone in any investigation, charge approval is always the ultimate goal, he said. It's important that we take the time we need to ensure a successful prosecution. Now on to the video.
Perfect community, but Dodging Geeds in Haida Gwaii is now under a curfew after a man was savagely mowed down and killed on Tuesday.
Immediately upon arrival, we determined that this was a targeted attack and this was not a pedestrian collision.
Luke Pearson was struck while walking along Front Street in Skidegate. Police say 32-year-old Tyson Young has since been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. He remains in custody until his next court appearance, May 28th.
We believe that there was a long-standing issue between the suspect and the victim, and we're trying to determine what the cause of that was and if this could have been prevented.
The RCMP have brought in additional resources, but say there are no outstanding suspects.
What came to this boiling point here now was a result of something that happened last summer or so. And it wasn't nice.
We've been working very closely with the Skidegate Band Council, who did put in a curfew. Their thought, and they worked closely with us on this, was that having a curfew in place would stop any type of vigilantism. There have been a lot of reports online of possible threats on both sides, and in the effort of public safety, they determined that that was the best way forward for their community.
Luke Pearson is being remembered as a proud uncle and loyal friend, a hard-working journeyman marine mechanic who lived a peaceful and honest life. The Skidegate Band's curfew remains in place between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., except for those who are working. Catherine Urquhart, Global News.
My personal thoughts. Sending much prayers and love to Luke's family and friends through this time of loss. Full forensic investigation under natural law is definitely warranted. New Brunswick landlord drops security deposit claim after false photo accusation. CBC News, written by Robert Jones, April 20th, 2025. Physicist Haida Gwaii and his wife moved from New Brunswick to Toronto over the winter for work. But before he could retrieve a $2,000 security deposit he had paid on his Moncton apartment, he was told his landlord was making a $500 claim on the money for cleaning and damage costs. That surprised Key, especially when he was shown pictures submitted by the landlord to justify the charge. One picture appeared to show dirt and chipped paint on a ledge by a window, but Key said there was no ledge like that in his unit. I feel like none of the pictures were from my apartment, he said in an interview. A second photo showed a dozen holes in drywall in what he guessed was from an old wall-mounted television installation. Police said he and his wife did not own a television during their 2-year stay. A third picture showed a mess in a cupboard that Key said could not have been his because his wife, who he describes as a germ-phobic, would not have tolerated it. That's definitely not our apartment, said Key. My wife did a cleaning before we left, and she actually did a lot of constant cleaning of the whole apartment. We maintained it in pretty good condition. Key's apartment was in Moncton's new Encore residence, a downtown development by local businessman Trevor Ritchie. In an email to the Tenant and Landlord Relations Office, Kate Marecki, who made the claim on behalf of the landlord, cited the grimy apartment pictures she submitted as proof. The request for $500 for Key's security deposit was reasonable. In this case, the tenant was left the unit in exceedingly soiled condition, wrote Marecki, who also submitted a receipt for the cost of 28 hours of cleaning that Key and his wife moved out after they moved out. Key was offended by that. It hurt a little bit. I lived there for 2 years. It could have ended in a very friendly way. Not like this, he said. Key, who also works in the field of quantum computing, had originally offered to settle the dispute for $100. But after seeing the photos and reading the description of the mess he was accused of leaving behind, he rescinded that offer. In an email on March 18th, he told the Tenant and Landlord Relations Office, which holds security deposits and trust, and was mediating the dispute, that he believed at least 3 pictures were phony. Now, on to the video.
A lot of people, especially students, that means one thing, it's moving out time. If you're renting an apartment, moving out means a few things: giving notice, packing up, cleaning up. Then there's a tricky part, getting your security deposit back. In New Brunswick, when you rent an apartment, typically in the first month you pay rent plus a security deposit, and the deposit itself is usually equal to 1 month's rent, which can be $1,000 or much more. That money is held in trust by the New Brunswick government. And currently, the province has more than $52 million of tenants' money on deposit. Security deposit money belongs to the tenant, and under normal circumstances, when the tenant moves out, they can have the deposit back on a couple of conditions: that they don't owe the landlord any back rent or money for utilities, they haven't damaged the apartment or left it in a mess. In those circumstances, the landlord can make a claim for all or part of the security deposit. And in New Brunswick, that does happen quite a bit. Last year in New Brunswick, there were 489 disputes between landlords and tenants over who should get the security deposit back. And resolving those disputes isn't always easy. One of those disputes involved this apartment building in Moncton. This is Haida Gwaii. He's a former tenant of the building. In fact, this picture was taken on the day that he moved out. Gwaiy's security deposit was $2,000. And after he left, the landlord submitted pictures to the province alleging Gwaii left behind messes, holes in the wall, and other problems, and asked for $500 of Gwaiy's security deposit as compensation. Gwaii objected, and he claimed at least 3 of the photos used by the landlord were not of his apartment. Specifically, he mentioned this one, which showed some missing paint on a ledge by a window. Gwaii said his apartment didn't have a ledge like that anywhere. In the video his wife happened to take on the day they left appeared to back him up. Gwaiy's landlord didn't challenge the accusation and dropped the claim to a security deposit. That raises the question, if you're a good tenant and you're leaving an apartment in good shape, how best to avoid a situation like this? New Brunswick recommends that tenants and landlords head off disputes over security deposits by having a joint inspection of the unit during a move to resolve any issues. She actually agrees with that, but has another piece of advice for tenants. Take your own photos of the unit on the way out in case you need it in a dispute.
My personal thoughts. Chi stood up for his rights and won his case. Bravo. How many others have had their security deposit withheld? $52 million is a lot of money that New Brunswick holds for tenant security deposits. Does anyone get a commission? Things to think about. Definitely taking pictures of your apartment before you rent and just before you move out is an excellent idea. BC pilot tells remarkable survival story after small plane crash off Mexico. Global News written by Amy Judd and Aaron MacArthur. Updated April 23, 2025. A BC pilot now has a remarkable survival story to tell after ditching his small plane in the ocean off the Baja Peninsula. Mike McDonald had been hired to fly over the Gulf of California with a marine biologist to look for wildlife last weekend. Our job is to go out there and spot the animals, identify them, mark their location, and which direction they're headed, he told Global News. But about 3 hours into a 4-hour tour, his engine suddenly quit, and he realized he couldn't make it to land. My colleague there thought I was playing some sick prank, but nope, this was the real deal, and we had less than 3 minutes to prepare, McDonald told Global News. After a few minutes of troubleshooting, he realized he was going to have to ditch the plane into severe swells a long way from shore. According to the app that we use for our tracking, it says that we were 61 knots, which works out to about 113 kilometers per hour when you hit the water, McDonald added. And it was a very sudden stop in fairly large swells with a little bit of whitecaps and some wind involved. He said as soon as they hit the water, they unbuckled their seatbelts, rolled out, rolled the airplane over, and had to inflate their life vests, while his partners inflated with little trouble. McDonald said he had to blow up his manually. Luckily, I'm a bagpiper, so it wasn't too hard to do, he joked. Luckily, other than some cuts and bruises, both of them were okay. It just felt like a sea monster reached up and grabbed us and pulled us in it and slammed us forward, McDonald said of the impact. So it was a kind of bizarre feeling. The tracking app registered, and impact and rescue personnel were being dispatched. The pair floated in the ocean for more than 2 hours before the first vessel arrived. Now on to the video.
An emergency over water left Vancouver resident Mike McDonald floating in the Gulf of California over the Easter weekend. The pilot forced to ditch in the ocean after the engine on his Cessna suddenly quit.
My colleague there thought I was playing some sick prank, but nope, this was the real deal, and we had less than 3 minutes to prepare.
The plane was flying off the coast of the Baja Peninsula, southeast of La Paz. McDonald scrubbed as much airspeed as possible while calmly briefing his passenger on the procedures.
We gotta make sure we open our doors. Here's a pillow for your face so you don't get broken plastic and whatever from the windshield if it breaks. Tighten your harnesses and just get ready.
The plane hit the surface of the water at 113 kilometers an hour.
As soon as we hit the water, we rolled the airplane nosed over, and water immediately came rushing in.
Both pilot and passenger unbuckled and made it out of the wreckage with their life jackets inflated. McDonald's phone rang. The tracking app on the plane had registered an impact. The voice on the other end said rescue personnel had already been dispatched.
Waiting to get rescued. Might be a lot.
The pair floated in the ocean for more than 2 hours before the first vessel arrived. One of the items that floated free of the wreckage was a marine radio, and the pair used it to guide the first vessel to arrive, a diving charter boat, to their location. Marine rescue arrived after that, and the pair were whisked to La Paz for treatment for minor injuries.
I got some bruises, got some big turquoise bruises that match the water here, so, you know, a little souvenir. Good crowd, good afternoon, Cessna 175.
McDonald says his training and a sense of duty to his colleague kept him so calm during this emergency situation.
I mean, if it was just me, maybe I would have been in a different headspace, absolutely. But I felt completely responsible for her, and I had to make sure that she got out of it in one piece.
McDonald lost his passport in the wreckage, now at the bottom of the ocean. After meeting with crash investigators, he will return home when he gets the new document.
My personal thoughts. Such an amazing story of determination, strength, and remarkable courage to live. Amazing story. I am Cindy Lorraine Grace of CLG Viewpoint, and I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for you to be here today with me. And if you feel so, please share with others. Thank you. May you have a day filled with love, light, joy, and smiles. I am so honored and grateful to be part of your life through this time. And I have a short little video on John Lennon's quote. See you on Divina Industria, Divine Energy, Day 8, year 0035. That is Thursday, May the 10th, 2025. Thank you, and till we meet again.